Welcome to the game Neon Shadows. What is Neon Shadows? It's a split-screen, third-person stealth game with a cyberpunk aesthetic twist. Each player is going to have different abilities. They need to work together to progress through the level, remain hidden, and kill the enemy. Since this is the first devlog, you can expect a little bit of more of a lengthy thing because I'm going to talk to you guys about everything. We're going to be talking about the concept art, the inspiration, the mood board, and also mechanics that we plan to implement before diving into the mechanics that we already have implemented as well. So this game is heavily inspired by one of my favorite all-time games, which is Splinter Cell. Namely Splinter Cell Conviction, because that was sort of like the peak of Splinter Cell co-op, and I know a lot of people have some really nostalgic memories of playing Splinter Cell Conviction with your friends, your buddies. It was just peak stealth gameplay for me for split screen. One of the reasons I think this worked really well is because you had to remain in the shadows and methodically work your way through levels to avoid being caught, which nowadays we're seeing less and less of. You see games like Assassin's Creed, for instance, back in the past used to be a lot more stealth orientated. Nowadays they take a more of an RPG sort of action approach because stealth just doesn't sell anymore, not like it used to anyway. More people want to do action, shooty, run and gun, which is cool, that's fine. It's because a lot more people, you know, come back from a long day's work, come back from school, from studying, and just want to chill. They don't want to use their brain too much, and that's why those kind of games are a lot more popular, which in turn investors and companies and whatever end up investing more into those action-oriented games. Another big example is Dishonored 2, which is an incredible game, one of my favorites, has some of the best stealth mechanics, didn't sell enough for it to warrant more games in the series, and hence dedicated stealth games is just sort of a dying game genre. So for me, this is like actually quite a big passion project because I'm a huge fan of stealth games, from Splinter Cell to Dishonored to the old Assassin's Creed to Metal Gear Solid to I think it's Mark of the Ninja. I think stealth games are so fun, and I know there's other hardcore fans that miss the old split screen and Conviction and miss some of the old nostalgic stealth games where an action orientated approach wasn't viable and you had to methodically think. And alright, let's talk about this game in specifics before I go off on a entire romantic rant and write a whole love letter to the stealth genre that no longer seem to be pleasing my needs. So like a scorned lover, I've decided I will make my own. And the idea for this one basically is there's one of you that is going to be a melee class who can perform takedowns and hack objects, while the other player plays a sniper who can take out enemies from afar and support the melee class by taking down enemies. I'll go a little bit more in depth into some of the mechanics a little bit later, but I'm just talking about the general idea for the game. And also, because this game has a cyberpunk aesthetic, you know, you're going to see a lot of metal, a lot of neon colors. Lore in this cyberpunk-esque world is that these two rival mercenaries have been picked for the same contract to assassinate a target, and against their better judgment, they have to work together, which will then entail to them having a funny repertoire of jabs and jibes at each other, much like the game Army of Two, which again is up there for one of my top co-op experiences and really creates that brotherhood, sort of poking fun at each other between two soldiers on the field. We will probably branch out this lore at a later date and flesh out the narrative a bit, but for now the core experience is what's important here, especially when I was way too young to understand the complex political plotline of Splinter Cell, and I still enjoyed it just because of the rewarding gameplay. So that's really what we're trying to put forward first, and having a simple plotline to fall back on just for now is more than okay. Let's move on to aesthetics and concept art. So while I'm talking, I'm just going to show you guys some of the concept art that's already sort of floating around this game. We're working on a big team. I think there's 13 or 14 3D designers on this team, and each person is undertaking a different character. So we're going to have 11 different types of guards. There's going to be 2 people working on the playable characters and 1 person working on the assassination target. Our general idea for the general aesthetic for all the 3D designers to sort of follow, so that they can all be unique but still look like they're from the same group, is to use the Maelstrom, which is like a group from Cyberpunk, as the aesthetic inspiration for our characters. Since this is early stages, there's not much more I can really show you except for these sketches and concept art, so I'm going to move on to some of the mechanics that we both plan to implement and the mechanics that we've already implemented in this short 4-week time span. So the basics to form a stealth game are taking cover, crouching, some form of enemy detection, climbing, and then in most games they give the players some kind of tools that they can use to either distract enemies, create space, or just generally solve problems on the fly as you meet them. I also want to force the players to cooperate, whether that be through doors that they both have to operate simultaneously to open, or enemy types that one player can't take. For instance, maybe an enemy type has a shield and can't be shot, so the melee guy has to get close and hack the shield, and then you can take him out. Or the opposite, where there's an enemy type that can't be shot, so the melee guy has to get close and stab him in the back.
I'd like to see him come back? That Ralph, there's no way. He's dead.
Mechanics for the guards are just as, maybe if not more important, because the guards really depict the feeling of the game. They need to feel like they have senses, they need to feel like they're smart, they need to feel like they have vision and hearing, but they also need to have predictable patrol paths so that you can play the game, learn their patrol paths, and then, you know, make plans accordingly. We also wanted to implement like a hiding a body system, so if detected, the guards will enter heightened alert levels, which means, you know, they'll detect you faster and things like that, much like Metal Gear Solid. On to the mechanics that's already been implemented in this short time span. First things first, look at this beautiful menu. God damn, who made this? It was me. So basically, if you guys don't know, I'll quickly show a quick clip here. The main menu for Splinter Cell Conviction was like this, where selecting different options took you to different angles, and there's a scene going on that's frozen, and I thought that was so fucking cool that I wanted to copy that. So I did. I sat down in Unreal. It took a while, but here, as you can see, we have a basis for the main menu system. I will change the scene, and currently the characters are just placeholders from Mixamo, since we're waiting on 3D artists to do their characters. And for that reason, I haven't spent a massive amount of time on the scene that you're seeing, but you get the general idea and gist of what we're going for. I've also been doing some of the player mechanics, as you can see here. Currently, you're able to crouch, you're able to roll, there's a split screen functionality. You can also take cover, and during taking cover, there's a check to see if you're at the edge of cover, so you stop moving, or if the other player is on your side, so you don't overlap them and walk into each other and have some weird kind of intimate moment during the stealth scenes. And that's it for now. Surprisingly, it takes a while to get these very simple mechanics down and looking like this. They still need some polishing, there's still some bugs, and for instance, the roll still doesn't feel super smooth. However, I'm pushing forward and ignoring the perfectionist inside of me so that we can push out an alpha in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Then the other programmer, Ash, has been working on the guard mechanics. Far as I know, AI can now follow a predetermined path and face that direction they are meant to when waiting at each node. So he's basically set up a system that can be copied across many different of the AIs. You just put an AI into a scene, and then you can choose the nodes that he's going to follow, the route, the path, whatever, the patrol, and he will just follow those and face whatever direction you tell him to once he gets there. Which means during the level design phase, we can then, you know, meticulously plan out each patrol path and have a rough idea of how the player should be able to get through the puzzles. GC, another programmer, has mainly so far been focusing on the level design. This early one, after some discussion, felt like it was a bit too open and not what most stealth games feel like. And we were talking about being able to sort of climb and walk above the level, and I feel like it defeats a lot of the purpose. Like if you play Splinter Cell, it's a lot more of a linear experience, and that's one of the discussions that we all had as a group. So after he went out and carried out some research, he even went and bought Conviction and played it. He took some heavy inspiration from the first and second level, which I believe is a mansion, and he set up his block out, which you are now seeing in front of you now. What you will also notice is we're actually showcasing another system that GC has been working on, which is the interaction/damage system. Basically, you can interact with light switches that you're seeing, lights are turning on and off, and you can also interact with certain objects or destroy lights as well. But yep, the level block out is pretty much there. We are going to add some things at the beginning before you go into this sort of open warehouse space where you linearly have to go through the steps of the mechanics, where you're forced to do a takedown, where you're forced to do a shoot, so that when you do get into this open world, you know what tools you have available to combat the problems that you might face. I really tried to make this as quick as possible. I unfortunately ran way over my schedule limit, and I also think next time I'm going to take it a little bit less serious. You know, I'm going to just chill. It's nice. I'm just sharing with you guys the process of working on the game. I kind of want to just have fun with these videos, talk about my own passions, where things come from. So yeah, if you like this format, please give it a like, please give it a comment, please share. Message me if you're interested in testing out the game. I'm more than happy to have people do alpha and beta tests, and if you can record and send me the footage, I'll be super thankful. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys tune into the next devlog, which will hopefully be within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and you'll see the massive steps of progress that we've made from here to then. So peace, much love, stay strong.